Welcome to the Sourcing Industry Landscape podcast, hosted by Don Tura, CEO and President of SIG.
Well, hello, folks, and welcome back to the podcast series. I have somebody, first off, with the coolest name, but second, I can't wait to get to know our guest. So in the studio today is Opi Gahunia, which is such a cool name, Director of Indirect Procurement at Belden. And as a CPA and a certified management accountant with 15 years of progressive experience in all areas of accounting within the manufacturing industry, he has been consistently recognized as a high performer with a strong work ethic, advanced analytical skills, and the capability to thrive in a dynamic environment. Now, through his years of leadership in various positions, he's developed a proven track record of dedication to teamwork, strong business acumen, superior organization skills, strong communication skills. And I have to tell you, Opi, being a CPA and CMA doesn't usually go with strong communication skills. I'm just saying. And he's worked in partnership with various functional team leaders to resolve variances, refine forecasts, develop budgets, and identify opportunities for improvement. So welcome, Opi.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate the introduction.
And I am a recovering CPA, so I'm allowed to throw some shade.
That's okay.
So before we get started, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, who is also our AI Council member, who is Zycus. When we return, we're going to hear more from our guest, Opi.
Your buyers are bogged down by tactical buying. What if you were freed up from tactical PO processing to focus on more strategic work? What if you could flip requisitions to purchase orders with just one click? What if tactical buying were to become touchless? What if cost management, compliance, checks, and controls didn't mean complicated and time-consuming? Introducing Merlin for e-procurement. Now with Merlin, you can focus on what matters. You can strengthen supplier relations. You can mitigate risks. You can contribute to strategic initiatives like new product development to support sustainable growth. Merlin is changing the future of procurement. Let's see the future live in action. Zycus AI-enabled Buyer Smart Desk automatically processes all non-catalog requisition to PO by using out-of-the-box intelligence to thoroughly review the requisition by matching extracted information from documents and data patterns from past purchases. Zycus AI-enabled autonomous Quick Source AI automatically flips requisitions into a Quick Source event, autonomously invites recommended supplier into the event, autonomously sends out email communication inviting the suppliers. The supplier can then respond to the email just like how they will respond to any email. AI then automatically extracts the information from the quote attached to the email. AI ranks suppliers based on bid analysis, making it ready for the buyers to flip back into the requisition. Hello, CPOs. Your buyers are meant for more. They deserve Merlin for e-procurement.
Well, welcome back, Opi. Thank you for joining us today. And like I said, your name just says you have to smile. But we don't get a lot of CPA CMAs in procurement. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you end up where you are today?
It's actually an interesting one. I went through university and always had that accounting mindset and business kind of thing. My parents are entrepreneurs, so I kind of got a lot of that from them. But as I progressed through school, I felt more comfortable with accounting and more interested in it. And when I originally started working originally started in automotive and getting to know, the cost of things and, cost accounting and that background is kind of where my strength is at. But it's been an evolution since then as I've progressively moved on to higher level roles. And as I got into controllership roles, Belden, I originally started as a plant controller for our Coburg facility in Canada. And then we had a business called Grass Valley out of Montreal. I was the global controller for that with like 30 plus legal entities. So it was basically from there, my exposure to multiple facilities and how to help with cost reductions and look for opportunities and helping the procurement team at that time grow. And from there, I had an opportunity after my global controllership role to, the procurement team was looking for somebody that had experience with the plants, specifically around capital equipment and knowing the lingo and our wire and cable industry. It's very kind of customized equipment and specific suppliers. So I was able to bring that knowledge from being in the plants and working with local and the engineering teams and whatnot, and really apply it to the procurement side of things. So I think I bring a little bit of the business and the manufacturing experience, and I'm applying it to procurement, and really helping Belden kind of thrive from those category standpoints. And then recently here in June, I was promoted to the director. So I have more than capital equipment, and it's pretty much everything now. But it's been a great journey, and I think having an expanded role, a continued expanded role in my 10 years at Belden, it's been a nice journey, and I can definitely say I don't miss the year ends or month ends anymore too. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. So it's interesting though, because with your background, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I first started in sourcing, being a CPA, I always thought that, if I just showed them this piece of paper and where it added up, the savings, like, hello, no brainer, let's just do it. And I was really frustrated in the beginning because my numbers didn't tell the whole story. And I really learned that it was the people, that if I couldn't inspire the people to want to make these changes and trust in me, that the changes I was recommending were going to be good for the business and good for them long term, they're not going to go just off of logic. They're going to go based on emotion as well. Did you experience any of that, in your transition to procurement, on having to learn how to sell more than tell?
Yeah, I think that is an important thing, because I know when I was on the other side, on the accounting side, and procurement would come to me and say, hey, we have these potential savings, or we saved you X amount this month. And I'm like, I don't see it in my numbers. Or there would always be that argument of, hey, where did the savings land up? But I think now being on this side of it, I think we've done our team has done a pretty good job of working with or partnering with the accounting folks to really, I guess, reconcile those savings and ensure that they're being captured on our income statements or our performance from that standpoint. But there was definitely, I still run into it now, but I think because I'm coming from an accounting background, and I kind of know the way things worked within Belden, and kind of what these other controllers or finance leaders are kind of looking for, and how to present it to them, I think makes a difference. So like you said, it's not all dollars and cents. There is an emotional side to it too, or to have that rapport with people. I think you just got to find a crack to get into, with opportunities, and show them what you can do. And then I think, slowly that builds rapport with them. And now it's, to a point where I have people coming to me saying, hey, Opi, we're having, we're struggling with, costs in these areas, or with this particular vendor. Can you go try and see if you can find alternatives or whatnot? So it is definitely a situation where I think you have to find a way to prove yourself, and then build that trust and rapport. And then I think it comes back tenfold, to be honest with you.
No, I agree. So for the folks that are listening in today or watching it today, what does Belden do? Because it's not a household name to everybody.
Yeah, it's we have multiple different brands, but Belden is basically a wire and cable company. We're actually in a kind of a transformation now, where we're when customers used to deal with us, they used to have to deal with all of our different brands individually. We're going through a transformation now where we're trying to provide solutions, so complete solutions as opposed to products, but basically anything related to internet or wire and cable, data centers, the cell phone towers, the wiring for that, commercial buildings, stadiums, hospitals, a lot of that, any type of industrial commercial type buildings would generally have Belden wire or Belden products in it. And then obviously data centers and stuff like that, we have like the racking and switches and stuff like that are part of it. So we're definitely a technology company, and we're really transforming now, as some other companies are, from a product centric hey, this is a product we make, you figure out how to use it. We're now trying to take all of our products and say, hey, this is how they work together. We can provide you an entire solution. And that's kind of where we see our future, and a lot of our investments that we're doing right now. We actually have pretty exciting stuff happening within Belden. We have these customer innovation centers that are being built around the world. We have 5 of them going up. One's going to be in Chicago, our main one, and Silicon Valley. And then we have some international ones in Germany, Singapore, and India are going to be online here soon. But basically those are, I would consider them almost like a permanent trade show booth kind of thing, but we really have, customers come in and visit those sites. We kind of show them our capabilities or case studies that we've had and successes we've had with other customers. We take a look at their problem that they're trying to solve and really provide an entire solution for them and whatnot. So that's kind of where Belden was and is going, and it's exciting to be part of this journey. We when I originally started with Belden, it was really about the wire and cable, or the just providing cable, and it was I'm not going to say it wasn't sexy. It was just like standard commodity type stuff. But the things we're doing now are really helping our customers create or provide solutions for problems that they have, and it's just definitely a different environment that we're in, and it's exciting to see things move this way.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you also you have a partnership with Zycus, and if I'm not mistaken, you have the full source to pay suite. Is that true?
That's correct. And
then you also replaced Coupa. Is that correct?
For some of our businesses, yeah. Our legacy businesses, no. I think some of our legacy businesses were, I think our Grass Valley business was the one that replaced Coupa, but our legacy kind of standard businesses, I think overall Belden has grown by acquisition. So we've had a lot of ERP systems and a lot of different solutions that we've had. So we've really now focused over the last, it's been 6 years so far now that we've partnered with Zycus. We've really got we really used to be a paper and pencil company where we, wrote requisitions by hand and had to get approval, walk it around for approval, then give it to a buyer for them to enter it into the ERP and generate a PO. From that standpoint, it's totally changed. We have, proper approval workflows now. That's all automated through the Zycus solution. We do have a lot more control and ensuring that we have the proper approvals and kind of a history. I think the other thing that we get, because we've had multiple ERP systems, if I wanted to get an understanding of, hey, how much are we spending with a specific supplier, I would have to go to multiple ERP systems, or it'd be very hard to try and get that data. I think the partnership with Zycus and some of the iAnalyze is one of the modules that they have that helps us get us spending details, categorization of our spend and whatnot. So it really helps us from a standpoint of one, supplier rationalization. That's kind of what we're kind of going through now, as well as, hey, if we have a particular location that's spending an amount with a supplier, but then we have a different, a competitor supplier at a different location. Is there a way to, combine that spend or look at it more from a strategic standpoint? I think the other point I usually try to make is Belden used to be very fragmented, and we kind of acted like mom and pop shops, so multiple mom and pop shops. Whereas now, this partnership with Zycus, it helps us, act like a $2.5 billion company and leverage our spend accordingly.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So, you brought up something too that I love the fact that you can speak in those terms. One of the things that was really frustrating for me was that when you're talking to procurement people, they think that driving savings is what is needed, but they don't recognize typically the difference between a capital dollar and an O&M dollar.
Yeah.
And, if I go into a business unit and I say, I've got all these great ideas and I'm delivering all capital savings, but their plans are to deliver O&M savings, I'm missing the boat. And so you having that kind of language translation where that a dollar is not a dollar and they're not all created equal, gives you so much more power. Because I would love, at some point later on another podcast, is talk about how do you create the language of the CFO? How do you translate procurement to CFO speak? And that's where I think the beauty of having your background is just phenomenal. So is that pretty much what you've been experiencing?
Yeah, actually. So believe it or not, I'm kind of lucky. I actually report directly into our CFO.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that direct contact with him, and we did have obviously from when I was in the accounting world, a relationship there from that standpoint, and we knew each other. So I think one that helps, obviously, that I can speak the lingo, or be a little more, I guess I'll call it helpful in delivering some of that communication. But it really comes down to, I won't even say it's a CFO. I feel like it's driven by, in our company anyway, Belden anyway, is really driven by the finance leaders in each of our business units. And each of them have kind of their own problems. I almost think of them as, separate businesses in itself. Like we have, one company may have, capital restrictions, and another may have issues with, lead times for manufacturing equipment. They have other cost issues. So it's really kind of getting an understanding of your audience. But I think, from my standpoint, I'm leveraging the accounting and finance background I have with the relationships I built during that time in the company. But I think, if I was to go to a new company, you could probably do something very similar to that, but it does take some time. I'm not saying it's an overnight thing, but I do think it is really important to know your audience, whether it's the CFO, the CEO, any other, like I also deal with our CIO on a lot of technology products or sourcing of that stuff for projects. So it really depends on the audience and how and what you want to convey, and really get an understanding of what they're trying to accomplish, and try and deliver that to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I definitely get that. So let's talk about AI. And are you a believer in AI? Is it something that still has to be proven, or have you started to drink the Kool-Aid and realize that it really is here?
Yeah, so I can tell you for a fact, it is something that we're definitely looking at. It's something I'm definitely interested in. Over the last year, our team specifically has had a lot of turnover. I haven't been able to fill every position, so I'm looking at it. It's kind of accelerated my view on AI, just to see how we can still get stuff done, or reduce the amount of administrative type of tasks that my team is doing, and actually focus on sourcing and category management and delivering value for the company. So I think AI is often characterized as a tool to drive value, but I almost think it's it really depends on what you're looking at it for. So for me, I think it's more of, hey, we needed to do some of the administrative tasks, like I mentioned, to help us free up time to drive the value in the areas where I feel it can. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it from. And I think, we've really looked at some of the Zycus solutions a lot, as well as a few others from kind of, I won't say a direct procurement standpoint, but just, hey, how can we automate some things and help our suppliers and build those relationships and make it easier for them to do business with us and vice versa. But specifically from a Zycus standpoint, we're really looking at, it's called Merlin for iContract is one of the modules we're looking at specifically, and that is really for contract management and reviewing contracts. When we get so many contracts, on a weekly basis or even annual basis to review them individually, then we, manually send them to our legal team, and there's the back and forth. It's a lot of time, to be honest with you. And I think some of the solutions that Zycus provides or that we're looking into will streamline that. We'll have standard set of terms and conditions that we want to see in contracts, and they'll be able to run it up against, the contracts that we're looking at. We'll run it up against that kind of standard that we have. And then, we negotiate on those points that are kind of different, as opposed to reading, all 30 or 40 pages of an agreement. So I think there is definitely some value there from an administrative side of things, as well as kind of a consistency things. I think you look at things where if there's turnover or whatever, one person may have a different opinion, or if, I'm reading something, the legal folks always kind of read it a different way. I think if you kind of have, some of that automated technology or intelligence kind of built in, and, you keep on learning from each of the agreements that you go through, I think it's very, very useful and a time-saving opportunity to at least focus your attention on other areas where you may not have been able to historically.
Well, and it frees people up to do things that they want to do. They don't want to just be reading a 30-page contract. Right. And, that's mind-numbing after a while, reading, and especially, with COVID, we found that a lot of people that are using the contract AI piece of it with Zycus said that now we could scan all of our agreements and look for all the force majeure clauses. Or, exactly. We can scan all of it and look for insurance, and we can scan all of it. But, I heard an interesting use case, which it was the first time the other day, where someone said, because they're also a company built by acquisition, and so they're using the contract modules. If they're looking at an acquisition, they scan all their contracts to look for all the issues that might come out of an acquisition. So where are we going to find additional savings? Because now we have additional spend with a certain supplier. Where are we going to have competing suppliers? There are going to be issues that we have to resolve. Where do they have contracts that don't have good clauses? And so it was the first time I heard, them using a contract module like this on an acquisition. And they said it made us so much smarter in the acquisition. So anyways, that was just something really new to me. I was like, why have we not been talking about that? It's such a brilliant use of it.
Yeah, it is. That is a good point.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. So when you think about going forward, the one thing about Zycus is that their AI is real. Like, they've been talking about it longer than any other member that we have. And for a while it was, they started talking about it way early, but it just told me how visionary they are. So where do you see yourself 6 months, 12 months, 24 months out? Do you have a vision on what AI should be able to do?
I think it's evolving kind of every day for us. I think, like I mentioned, due to the lack of resources, it's kind of accelerated my view on it. Did I think, 6 months ago, we'd be, talking about a module that can review contracts and, spit out kind of the areas that we need to look at? I would probably say no. So I think things are evolving very, very fast. I think this is definitely an area that professionals or leaders in procurement should be looking at, because like I mentioned, it is important to try and really focus on the category management as opposed to the administrative management of these relationships. I think that overall that's what's going to drive value for companies, as well as help procurement professionals achieve their objectives that they have. But it's a situation where you really need to understand where you think your problems are, or I won't call them problems, where your
they are.
where your inefficiencies are. I'll put it that way. As an example, we also have a lot of suppliers emailing us on sending individual emails for invoices and what's my payment status or whatever. So there's a lot of there's some solutions that also Zycus has in that regards as well too, to help that, so it's not an AP person or a procurement person getting back to the actual vendor. It's this, AI that's looking up in the systems and providing the information and replying back to these types of emails. So I'm sure I can AP professionals and even procurement professionals probably get, hundreds of those emails on a monthly basis and have to follow up with them. And like, it's little things like this where you have to understand where your best bang for your buck is, and then focus on that to try and see what solutions best match up to that and can solve those problems for you. And then it's really about doing things smarter. Mm-hmm. And really making use of effective time. Like, everything's changing so fast right now, and evolving. I think the faster procurement professionals can adapt to those changes and try and stay ahead of them, the better off you'll be. And I think AI is one of the tools that we have currently at our disposal that could help do that.
No, I'm so glad that you're a forward-looking executive, because it's here. And, we know that the talent is hard to come by. We know there's a talent shortage. We also know that there's a declining population. People are having fewer babies. There are fewer people that are going to be going into the workforce. And then you combine that with all of the immigration issues, combined with a pandemic, there's a shortage of labor across most industries. And if we don't find ways to use AI, first off, we won't be able to attract and retain the right people, because smart people don't want to do dumb work and repetitive work. And we also have to be able to do more with fewer people. That's just sort of a fact of life. So I'm glad you're forward looking that way.
Yeah, I think you have to be, otherwise you're going to be left behind in the dust here with the way things are moving. But it's definitely not only for yourself, but for your team. You got to make sure they're given the right tools and opportunities for them to excel. I think that's kind of important as well too, to kind of make sure that that message it comes across clearly. And I think I have regular meetings with my team, and a lot of it comes out, and because I was actually doing it too, I can vouch for what they say. Is there's so much time spent from an administrative standpoint, or I'm not going to call it non-value added, but it's on the supplier relationship side of things where, you step in to help out with an issue. Oh, they don't have, something to invoice, whether it's a PO number or whatever. So you kind of get bogged down by some of these things, and there's definitely ways to eliminate that waste. And like I mentioned, I think AI is one of the tools that we have at our disposal right now to make that happen fairly quickly.
Yeah, and people say it helps take the friction out of having to stop what you're doing, look it up, respond to somebody. All that friction, it just takes time, and it's not fun. Yeah.
And I think the other thing I just wanted to add is, I think for the investment that you have to make in these technologies to bring AI on, it very, very cheap compared to the results or the efficiencies that you gain for sure. I think if you look at it, if you want to, you'd almost want to hire a person, or if you had to go get a whole new software solution to try and do some of these things, like when it's an add-on like Zycus provides, or an additional module, I think it's definitely bang for the buck. It is a valuable thing.
So I know what I'm going to be doing, and that's going to be recruiting you onto our AI council. So that would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to have you there, because the AI Council is formed. It's a partnership that we did with Zycus. And the whole idea is to bring procurement executives together to ideate and then do test cases. Like, how can we do something over here? Or this area has a lot of friction. What could we do to automate and use AI? And so it's going to be Zycus customers, non-Zycus customers, SIG members, not SIG members. But we want this council to get together, do workshops. Zycus is going to do all the heavy lifting with their engineers. But it gives us a chance to say, this is a pain point. How can we use AI? This is a pain point. How can we use AI? And so my recruiting hat is on now. I want you on this council with us.
No, I'm there definitely for sure. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love that. So I'd love to check back with you next year and see how far you've come on the podcast. I will personally know because you and I will be working together, but I'd love to share it with our audience and then talk about the next step in your journey. So can I invite you back?
Definitely, for sure. And for any of the folks listening to the podcast, you want to reach out to me directly or have any other further questions, whether it's Zycus related or just procurement related, you can find me on LinkedIn or other ways to contact me.
We will have a link to your profile in the podcast. So wherever you get your podcast series, if you want to go online, we're going to have a link so you can make sure to follow up after this.
Great. And Dawn, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And
okay, it's been so nice getting to know you. So folks, if you weren't here in the beginning, this is Opi Gahunia, which is the coolest name, Director of Indirect Procurement at Belden. So Opi, thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the Sourcing Industry Landscape podcast through iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Want to nominate someone for an interview? Email us at info@sig.org.